but the fearful, and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars, shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And the covenant that I have made with you ye shall not forget, neither shall ye fear other gods. And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and thy words, because I feared the people, and obeyed their voice. These words spake his parents, because they feared the Jews, for the Jews had agreed already, that if any man did confess that he was Christ, he should be put out of the synagogue. And they shall go into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves of the earth, for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? But a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries. Fear and dread shall fall upon them, by the greatness of thine arm they shall be as still as a stone, till thy people pass over, O Lord, till the people pass over, which thou hast purchased. A dreadful sound is in his ears, in prosperity the destroyer shall come upon him. Trouble and anguish shall make him afraid, they shall prevail against him, as a king ready to the battle. How are they brought into desolation, as in a moment? They are utterly consumed with terrors. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. There were they in great fear, where no fear was, for God hath scattered the bones of him that encampeth against thee, thou hast put them to shame, because God hath despised them. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Trouble and anguish shall make him afraid, they shall prevail against him, as a king ready to the battle. Terrors shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. The sinners in Zion are afraid, fearfulness hath surprised the hypocrites. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings? Thine heart shall meditate terror. Where is the scribe? Where is the receiver? Where is he that counted the towers? I also will do this unto you, I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning ague, that shall consume the eyes, and cause sorrow of heart, and ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies, they that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, Would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Behold, I will bring a fear upon thee, saith the Lord God of hosts, from all those that be about thee, and ye shall be driven out every man right forth, and none shall gather up him that wandereth. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you. The fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him, but the desire of the righteous shall be granted. I also will laugh at your calamity, I will mock when your fear cometh. Fearfulness and trembling are come upon me, and horror hath overwhelmed me. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? Say ye not, a confederacy, to all them to whom this people shall say, a confederacy, neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass, that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran, and cried, and fled. And the 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, even throughout all the host, and the host fled to Bethshittah in Zerath, and to the border of Abel-meholah, unto Tabbath. And there was trembling in the host, in the field, and among all the people, the garrison, and the spoilers, they also trembled, and the earth quaked, so it was a very great trembling. And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. Then Saul fell straightway all along on the earth, and was sore afraid, because of the words of Samuel, and there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day, nor all the night. And all the guests that were with Adonijah were afraid, and rose up, and went every man his way. And Esther said, The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim. And his heart was moved, and the heart of his people, as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid. And as he reasoned of righteousness, temperance, and judgment to come, Felix trembled, and answered, Go thy way, for this time, when I have a convenient season, I will call for thee.